Hello teachers, in this video we are going to see about how to map CLOs perfectly with PSOs and POs. Now in the previous video we saw how to write the course learning outcome. So I took an example of a course on business analytics for the MBA students and I had written 5 different CLOs. Now, we also mentioned that CLOs and PLOs are written on the same basis of the graduate attributes. Both has to be written on the basis of graduate attributes. They differ in other aspects in terms of the, way it is written. POs, PSOs are broader statements, broader goal statements, whereas course learning outcomes are very specific goal statements. And course learning outcome is assessed at the end of the course. Program learning outcome is assessed at the end of the program. Those are the differences. Now, having defined the course learning outcomes, we'll see how to map CLOs with POs and PSOs. And before we start, I mean, CLO, CLO and PSO PO mapping should not be done at the beginning itself. That should be the last step. If you look at the curriculum template, the course articulation metrics, which specifies the mapping between CLOs and PSOs and POs, is mentioned at the last. So before we start the CLO PO mapping, a few more things which we need to finalize. Only then the process of mapping would be very easier. Now, when we are thinking about the mapping between CLO and PSOs and POs, there should be some alignment between CLOs and POs. Only then the mapping process will get through smoothly. The alignment between CLOs and POs and PSOs will happen only when CLOs, PSOs, and POs are written on the basis of graduate attributes. They all have the same commonality that they all three are written on the basis of graduate attributes. Only when they are properly defined in terms of graduate attributes, the alignment will be proper. Only when the alignment is proper, the mapping will happen smoothly. Otherwise, it will not happen. So in the course learning outcome, we have defined the course learning outcome based of graduate attributes. So we'll see how this alignment helps us to do the COPO mapping smoothly. Now, before we get into the course articulation metrics, first of all, we need to prepare the skill identification metrics. And when we prepare the CLOs only, I told you to list out the skills and the knowledge levels and the knowledge what the student is supposed to demonstrate at the end of the course. That list only we converted that into the goal statements, which are the course learning outcome. So now the preparation of skill identification metrics is going to be very easier. Okay, now first one, Bloom's taxonomy level, CLO1, classify. So it's going to be at level 2. So don't put the numerics, prefix it with L, L2. CLO2, apply statistical measure, which is going to be at L3. CLO3, use, it's going to be at level 3. CLO4, analyze the given case, it's going to be at level 4. CLO5, interpret the results of regression procedure, it's going to be at level 4, which is at analyze level. So don't give the numerics, prefix it with L, don't use K, we are going to use L common for the entire university. And once you do that, ensure that you put it in center aligned just for aesthetic reason. Then we have the generic graduate attributes. You just hold on to this generic graduate attributes. First, let us map the knowledge levels and the skills, and then we'll get into the which are discipline specific, and then we'll get into the generic attributes. So this is the process you follow. Don't directly dive into the generics. Now here, as I mentioned in the previous video, we are going to use the tick mark symbol over here. So the first CLO, which is the classify the given business data into its types. So I prefer that it's going to be more of factual. Oh, sorry. Let me take this one. Yeah, it's going to be more of factual and it's going to be more of conceptual. Okay, next CLO, it's going to be, so skill identification metrics basically maps the CLOs with the graduate attributes or skills and knowledge levels, knowledge types. Okay, The second CLO applies statistical measures on the given business data. It's going to be conceptual and also procedural. Okay, then use the different types of business analytics for the given case study. It's going to be conceptual and procedural. Fourth one, analyze the given case using the principles in business analytics. It's going to be procedural. For fifth one, interpret the output. It's going to be procedural. Okay, and analyze. It might be discipline specific skills as well. Interpret the output. It could also map discipline specific skill. Okay, so once you give the tick mark, as I said, center align all the tick marks, and then we have the generic attributes. Now don't get into directly the generic attributes. Before you fill the generic attributes, think about the assessments. Now the first one, it's going to be factual knowledge and conceptual knowledge. Okay, so here there is another table in the 9-point curriculum which is under point A, part D, which speaks about the weightage of marks in formative and summative assessment. Now do not worry about the marks as of now, but let us just continue the ticking mark, and later we'll convert that ticks into the marks. Okay, so the first CLO is going to focus on factual knowledge and conceptual knowledge. Now factual knowledge and conceptual knowledge mostly we can measure through examination, so I'm going to put a tick mark under MT, and I'm going to put a tick mark under summative assessment. Now as I explained the 9-point template, here we are not going to give the tick mark, we are going to give the marks, but just for completing the skill identification metrics, and for my understanding, I'm going to just put the tick marks just to find out which CLO I'm going to use, which assessment method. Okay, so should I use an activity to test the factual knowledge and conceptual knowledge? I can do it, but I can apply those activities for higher order skills rather than L2 level stuff. Now for L3, which is CLO2, which is apply statistical measures on the given business data and the problem. Here I can use it through a software application, but that is under L5, CLO5. So over here CLO2, I have mentioned conceptual knowledge, procedure knowledge, which can be tested through examination itself. So still there is no activity I'm going to give here. It's going to be on the basis of midterm exam and summative assessment. Now L3, CLO3, which is going to use different types of business analytics. Again, for the given case study can be given through examination. So here again, we have the conceptual knowledge and the procedural knowledge that could be very well assessed using the examination itself. Now coming to CLO4, where I have procedural knowledge and skill, where the CLO says that analyze the given case study using the principles in business analytics. So here always you should remember, when it is the higher level, L3 or L4 or L5 or L6, I can assess it at lower level, but I cannot assess it at higher level. Say for example, if we take CLO3, I can assess it at L3, L2 and L1, but I cannot assess it at L4. Okay, so L4 can be, CLO4 can be assessed at lower level also using an examination, can also be assessed through an activity. So I put a tick mark here. It can be included, because midterm I don't want to keep it, because I want to give long answer kind of like a 12 mark or 14 mark, which is there in the summative assessment. So I'll put it in the summative assessment, and I can do it through an activity also. So I give an activity. Then CLO5, once again using a software. So here definitely it's going to be activity 2, and yeah, summative assessment will not come, midterm also will not come. It's going to be through an activity. Okay, now activity description should be given. Activity 1. So activity 1 is going to be through case study analysis and presentation. Now activity 2 is going to be through mini project using mini project on statistical data analysis and interpretation using SPSS, because this CLO speaks about interpretation and also the usage of SPSS. So I just given the activities, so activity 3 and 4, I'm going to delete that one. Okay, and so I mean, I just given the mapping, so I cannot do the total marks. I need to decide on that. Activity I can give 10 plus 10. So instead of the tick mark, I'll replace here with 10 and here with 10. The total is going to be 10 and here also going to be 10. And I'm going to center align this. Yes. So now why I should think about the activities to connect the generic attributes. Okay. So imagine if I am going to mention just case study over here for activity 1. It can very well be done through examination also. And it's going to be the written communication. If I make it case study analysis with presentation, okay, now I can assess his critical thinking, also his communication as well. Okay, so that's how this comes. Imagine if this is going to be a group case study. Okay, I can also map it with, I can also enhance his team building skills or collaborative skills. So let me make it as a group case study analysis and presentation. Okay. Now, depending on the assessment method, only I can bring in generic attributes. The objective of my course is not to enhance the collaborative skills of the student. The objective of my course is not to enhance the communication skill of the student, but because I'm using the assessments which are group activity and which is going to be a presentation, there's a scope for me to enhance the collaborative skill and also the communication skill of the student. Now this would make sense only if I create a rubric for this assessment wherein I make provision to assess the collaborative skill and also the communication of the student. Say for example, for the activity 1, I mentioned group case study analysis and presentation, and which is under PLO 4. The PLO 4 has got a mapping for procedural knowledge and skills already. Along with that, I'm going to give collaborative skill. I'm going to assess the collaborative skill also. So out of the 10 marks, I will assign say 5 marks for the case study analysis uh, and say 3 marks for the discipline specific skill of applying the analytics knowledge on the given situation and the case study. And I'm going to apply 2 marks for the collaborative skills. Now, this rubrics I need to communicate to the student. It's going to be 5 plus 3 plus 2. Because I'm assessing the collaborative skill, I can very well say that through this particular activity, I'm going to enhance the collaborative skill of the student, and I'm measuring it with quantitative measure also. That rubrics has to be clearly defined. And only by innovating the activity, I can touch upon the generic graduate attributes. Otherwise, the basic communication skill can be brought in. Because case study in the examination, critical thinking can be brought in. Beyond that, I cannot bring any other activity. Say, for example, the collaborative skill cannot be assessed through an examination. In the examination, collaborative skill is going to be a malpractice. So such a skill can be brought only through the activities and through the generic attributes. That's why before you specify the generic attributes, think about the assessment plan, and then you list out the generic attributes. Now, before I go here, I mean the generic attributes are yet to be shared by the management. We'll just wait for that, but then I'll just quickly show you glimpses of the graduate attributes so that we can find the right appropriate descriptor while mentioning it under the skill identification matrix. Okay. So as I said in the previous video, there are 32 different generic attributes which the university has come up with. Okay, so here are the descriptors. Now coming to the skill identification matrix. Okay, so here I have the L2, CLO1, which is classify the given business data into its types. I'm going to assess it through examination. While writing the examination, we don't give any specific marks for written communication. So I'm going to leave the generic attribute blank. L3 is also going to be through assessments. CLO2 is also going to be assessment. CLO3 is also going to be examination. So I'm going to leave those three columns blank. CLO4, it's going to be through an activity. And as we discussed, it's going to focus on the collaborative and team skills. And let me go to the descriptors. The collaborative and 32 different graduate attributes are grouped into 5 different themes, which is on academic excellence, professional excellence, personal excellence, interpersonal excellence, and societal excellence. And the collaborative skill is going to come under the interpersonal skill excellence, wherein if I look at it, there is this word collaboration. So here I'm going to use collaboration, which is going to be the generic graduate attribute. Now for L4, it's going to be a mini project on statistical data analysis and interpretation using SPSS, wherein here I can give weightage to critical thinking and also to technology fluency. So in this case, it's a business analytics course, not a course on a particular tool. And I have given a guideline that do not specify too many attributes here under generic attribute, though I can include both critical thinking as well as the emerging technologies over there. But since we have restricted it to maximum of one generic attribute to be mentioned there, I choose critical thinking here, and I'm going to give maximum weightage for the critical thinking here, not the emerging technological skills. If this course is on SPSS or maybe any other tool like say Power BI, then I would have given maximum weightage on the tools. Here I'm going to give, tool a student can learn it anytime, but I'm going to give weightage for the critical thinking. Okay, so the meaning here in the assessment, out of the 10 marks, the mini project, the analysis, whatever he does, I'm going to give the rubrics along with the rubrics for analysis. I'm going to give 2 marks specifically for his critical thinking in terms of interpreting that particular output, because CLO4 speaks about interpreting the output. For that reason, I'm going to use critical thinking as the generic attribute. Now this exercise, one person in the department cannot do it for all the courses. Only the course teacher has to do this particular task, maybe in collaboration with a senior teacher or a coordinator of the department. Okay, so once this skill identification matrix is done, don't stop here with the tick marks. You have to give the marks here. Now this table is irrelevant because this table is very precise. Now all the details have been updated. And now we will go to the course articulation matrix, which is the main theme of this video, how to map the CLOs with POs. Now, when we think about the mapping, I told you the common factor between CLOs, PSOs, and POs are the the graduate attributes. Only because of that it's going to map. Now, when we look at the CLO1, now CLO1, we said that it's going to focus on factual knowledge, also on the conceptual knowledge. There's no other skill over here which is indicated. Now let us go to the PSOs and POs for this MBA program. So here we have the 4 POs and we have the 4 PSOs and we have the 4 POs. Now when you look at the PSOs, the first PSO will focus on demonstrate knowledge of. So the first PSO is written on the basis of factual knowledge and conceptual knowledge. So here, the mapping for here has got 2 choice, PSO1 and PSO2. Okay, because in the skill identification matrix we have given the tick mark. CLO1 focus on factual knowledge and also on the conceptual knowledge. When you look at the MBA PSOs, now here it's going to be the factual knowledge, and the PSO2 is going to be the conceptual knowledge at the application level. So it includes the concepts at an application level. Okay, so here this particular CLO1 will have a mapping for both PSO1 and also for PSO2. And because I have defined CLO1 at level 2, which is the understanding level, I am going to give the primary mapping for PSO2 and a secondary mapping for PSO1. There is no other skill which is involved. So I am going to give, for the high correlation primary mapping, I have to give the weightage of 3. That's what is mentioned here. And for the secondary mapping, which is the moderate correlation, I'm going to give the weightage of 2. Okay, so let us align this center so that it looks nice. Now, when you go to the C, so there is no other mapping here and no other skills here. We need not worry about mapping with POs. Okay, POs mapping is not mandatory. What we say, minimum 1 mapping, maximum of 3. So already we have done 2 mappings. That's fine. Now, when you look at the CLO2, it's the application level, statistical knowledge, and it's the application level. When you look at the skill identification matrix, the CLO2, here, it's going to be conceptual knowledge and procedural knowledge. Not very specific skills are there. Okay, so the application level, the procedures are given. Okay, and PSO3, if you see, PSO2 is application level of concepts. PSO3 is written in terms of the skills, procedural knowledge. Okay, and also the discipline specific skills. So now I'm going to see here whether this particular CLO, whether it's going to come under discipline specific skill or going to come under procedural knowledge. Now, it's a MBA program. Statistical procedure is involved, but a discipline specific skill is not involved. So I decide that as a course teacher. Now, this particular CLO will map predominantly to primarily to PSO2, which is application level, and I'll give a secondary mapping to PSO1, which is the conceptual knowledge. Okay, so here conceptual knowledge, the application level, PSO1, which is the factual knowledge, so I give a secondary mapping. I'm not going to give one anywhere. I don't have any other skills also, generics also I don't have, so just leave it there. When I go to the CLO3, it focuses on use of the different types of analytics for a given case study. And again, the same combination is there. So I'm going to retain the same because I'm going to use only the examination over here. I'm going to give a primary mapping for PSO2, which is procedural knowledge application level, conceptual knowledge application level, and conceptual and procedural knowledge. And PSO1, which is going to be the factual knowledge, I'm going to give the moderate level 2. When I look at the CLO4, which is analyze the given case using the principles in business analytics. And when I look at the skill identification matrix, there's a generic which is involved, which is collaborative skill. There's a procedural knowledge is there. There's a discipline specific skill is also there. When I look at the PSO2, the procedural knowledge on, say for example, business analytics is there in PSO2. Skill on data analysis, which is there under PSO3. Now for this one, I'm going to give a maximum weightage of discipline specific skill, which is PSO3. I'm going to give the maximum correlation. The moderate correlation, the secondary mapping, I'm going to give it for PSO2. And there is a generic attribute, which is the collaborative skill, which comes under the interpersonal, skills, which is PO3. Okay. If you look at the descriptors, if you have doubt, collaborative skill comes under interpersonal skills, okay, which is under the theme 4. When you come down to the POs given by the college, theme on interpersonal skill comes under PO5, okay, where we have the collaborative skills. So it's going to be mapping to PO5. So PO5 uh, over here is going to have the tertiary mapping. So I'm going to put a numeric 1 here. Okay, that's how the correlation sits. Now coming to CLO5, it's going to be hands-on, I mean at level 4, interpreting the output of the statistical analysis through the software SPSS. When you look at the mapping, again it's going to be procedural knowledge and skills, and it's going to be critical thinking. Now the mapping for here, I'm going to retain the same, the skills, discipline specific skills at level 3, I mean PSO 3, which is going to have the maximum weightage 3. And here PSO2, I'm going to give the secondary mapping, which is the moderate level. And I need to think, I need to find out critical thinking where it comes. So I go to the descriptors and I find critical thinking over here, which comes under academic excellence theme. I go to the PO list and I find that academic excellence, we have two POs, PO1, PO2, and the critical inquiry comes under PO1. So I'm going to give the tertiary mapping to PO1. So this is how the CLO PLO mapping is going to be done. So the CLO1 speaks about the discipline specific skill. It speaks about procedural knowledge. It speaks about the generic, which is critical thinking. And which PSO speaks about uh, discipline specific skill, which is PSO3 in my case for MBA. Which PSO speaks about discipline specific procedural knowledge, which is PSO2, which I mean program outcome speaks about the critical thinking, which is PO1. So that's going to have the least weightage. Why least weightage? The objective of my course is not to enhance the critical thinking of the student, but through the activities, I enhance his critical thinking and I also assess his critical thinking, and hence I'm going to give a weightage, but I cannot give 3 or 2. I'm going to give it as weightage 1. Okay, so this is how the CLO, PSO and PO mapping is to be done. So we need to refer to, before you do the CLO, PO mapping, you need to prepare the skill identification matrix properly. You need to refer. While preparing the skill identification matrix, you need to give the list of generic attributes. In order to decide on the generic attributes, first you need to prepare the course assessment plan. Once you fix the course assessment plan, you will be able to identify the generic attributes. Now, when you write the generic attributes, don't write your own words. You have to go to the graduate attributes specified by the Christian University, and you have to go to the descriptors column and use the correct appropriate word for that. That is done. And once you do that, then you go to the COPO, I mean the course articulation matrix. Now we also require the list of PSOs and also the list of POs. When you do the mapping here, check the skill identification matrix at what level, which one to prioritize. Should I prioritize procedural knowledge? Should I prioritize conceptual knowledge? As a course teacher, if you're not able to decide, take the guidance of a domain expert from your department, or even get the advice of an external expert or an alumni expert, and give the priority accordingly. In my case, I given the process. I mean, here the for CLO3 procedural knowledge more weightage, concept knowledge less weightage. For PLO4 and 5, I given more weightage for discipline skill, moderate weightage for procedural knowledge, and the least weightage for the generic attributes. Okay, accordingly, you will decide whether to give 3, 2, 1. Now, when we speak about the generic attributes, it is going to come under the generic program outcomes. So you need to know where this attributes, how it connects to which program outcome. So for that, say for example, collaborative skills, I go to the descriptors. I'll search for the word collaboration, which comes under the theme interpersonal excellence. Then I go to the program outcome down here, where interpersonal skills maps to P05, PO5, and hence I put numeric 1 here against PO5. So many things has to be referred before you put the mapping. Now, believe it or not, dear teachers, this mapping needs to be perfect. Only then the final PO attainment can be calculated perfectly. Okay, I hope you understood the COPO mapping. Thank you so much.